Welcome back to the Clara CFO Group channel. Today we're going to talk about what's going on in the world and how you can prepare as a small business owner. There's a lot going on right now. We've got war going on the other side of the world. We've got political unrest here in our own country. We have inflation. We have high fuel prices. We have people just, basically kind of freaking out. And there is this big talk of recession. And if we are in a recession, if we're already in a recession, there's lots of concern and a lot of uncertainty and quite frankly, a lot of panic. And so I wanted to give you a little bit of information to help you feel like you're a little bit more calm and centered and in control of what's going on in your small business. So this is the Clara CFO Group channel. My name is Hannah Smolinski. I am here to help you in your small business be more financially successful. And, talking about what's going on in the economy is pretty important. So we're going to talk about that today. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe and also make sure you click the little notification bell so you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. All right, so here are my tips. I'm going to give you 5 tips to help you as we're thinking about uncertainty in the marketplace. I am going to save kind of I've got some kind of conceptual tips and practical tips and tools, and it's kind of a mix of both. And I'm going to save my number 1 tool for the last. So please make sure you watch all of these because they are all important. And also you'll notice that now we're doing timestamps in the description box. So you can check that out if you want to go and try to navigate between the videos. And you can also scroll over the video and see the different chapters and timestamps that we have. Okay. Trying to help you get to the information you need a little bit quicker. The number 1 thing I would say, and this is number 1, is please don't panic. Yes, there's uncertainty in the world. Yes, there's scary words like recession and inflation coming around, but I want you to remember that the best thing you can do right now is stay calm. And when I say stay calm, I mean, not that you can't be aware of what's going on, but just this is not time to do super drastic things, okay? This is not time to go and sell everything you own. This is not time to go and sell your business when you don't even know whether or not, it's going to be successful through this next few coming years, or if it's not. So, this is not time to do drastic things, okay? And I want you to stay calm, listen, and if it's not helpful to watch the news all the time, don't watch the news all the time. Stay aware, but don't overload yourself with doom and gloom. That's not going to be helpful. You need to stay present, but please don't panic, okay? That's not going to help anybody. And it's certainly not going to feel great for your employees if you're coming in with your hair on fire every day, okay? So your employees or your customers or clients or whoever it is. So as a business leader, you need to be calm and you need to not panic. And I'm going to give you some other tips, okay? The second thing is it's time to raise your awareness. So we're not going to panic. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get our head out of the sand. If it was, we're going to take off any blinders that were there and we're going to start to observe what's around us. This is tip number 2. I want you to be aware of things like, what is your customer doing right now? Who is your customer and what might they be doing if a recession goes into full swing? What are your vendors doing? How healthy are they? Think about that. Who are your key clients? Will they be very susceptible to a recession? Start to look around. This is awareness. This is fact gathering time. Okay. And you can start to see potentially some things that might be of concern or things that you might want to sort of hedge against. Okay. So what we want to think about right now is who around us is going to be affected. How are we going to be affected and who around us is going to be affected? And I just want you to keep your eyes up, metaphorically speaking, keep your eyes up and be looking ahead and be looking around. This is time for fact gathering. Tip number 3 is to conserve cash. Now, when the pandemic hit, the businesses that did the best were the ones that had big cash reserves. Okay. So if you are not in a situation where you have tons of cash right now, this might be a good time to make sure that you either have a line of credit in place or you can have access to loans. Now, when a recession hits, access to banking and financing gets pulled back significantly. Okay, so this might be a time that you might want to try to go and do that now before we get deep into something. Okay. And the idea is not that you use that money right now. The idea is that you hold it. Okay. So that's the big thing. And that's going to be part of this conserve cash tip, is that I also don't want you to be going out and spending a bunch of money. Okay. And what I mean by that is making investments that aren't necessary to the growth of your business or necessary to the current state of operations. So if you have a truck, for example, in your business, should you be the person that's going out and replacing your truck and upgrading it when it's working perfectly fine? I'd say maybe if there's something that's not all that great, maybe get it fixed and hold on to the truck for right now. It'd probably be better to have that $70,000 of cash sitting in your bank rather than going out and buying a new truck. And that's just kind of a, big example. A couple other things are, thinking about, projects that you might have in place. Is this the time to go and redevelop your website 100%? Is this the time to maybe invest in a big new software implementation? Now, you might look at your business and you might say, yes, absolutely, because if I do this, it will help me be more recession proof, or it will make my customers happier, or it will make my service better. And that's okay. I'm not saying don't make investments that are going to make your business better. I'm just saying for the optional things and for the things that might put you in a hard place from a cash perspective, you might want to hold off on some of those things, or think about how else you can finance those things. If you can, pay over time rather than a large lump of cash, or if you could potentially get financing for that, what does that look like? I want you to have cash in the bank as much as possible. And a quick note on line of credits too. If you have a line of credit and it's not being used, meaning you've never borrowed from it, you want to probably go ahead and exercise it, like use it a little bit. Use it, pay it back, use it, pay it back. The bank likes to see that their lines of credits are being used, because when you use it, you pay interest. And I usually don't tell people, hey, use something so you'll pay interest. But the bank wants to know that they're making money off of you. And so if they're making money off of you, they're probably not going to pull your line of credit. Okay, so you can use it for a couple of months, pull the money into your checking account, hold on to it, and then pay it back in a couple months, just to kind of remind the bank, hey, you do use it and it's something that you want to still have available. Tip number 4 is to take time to think about your business. And I want you to get away from your office, get out into a different environment, maybe bring a pen and paper rather than your laptop or whatever it is, and write down things that you're observing about your business. So we raised our awareness, but now I want you to actually go through and think about, how are you getting revenue? Where are your expenses? Who are your key vendors? Who are your key customers? Who are your key clients? And I want you to think about how they might be affected. And I want you to think about where your business is most susceptible and where you might be feeling it the most if, let's say we do go into a recession. And, not really knowing exactly who's going to be the most affected, but think through who your customers are and who might be teetering on maybe some financial, shaky ground. And then think about what you could do to help prevent you from being affected by that. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say you're a business where you have one key vendor of a core material, and you need that material in order to do your work and deliver your projects. If that one vendor goes under and goes bankrupt, what are you going to do? This is time to think about that. Identify a backup. It could be as simple as just getting a list of 3 other businesses and having that, or maybe going ahead and making an introduction to a couple other vendors, just so you know that you have a backup in case of something. Or maybe calling them and just asking, hey, what's your lead time for this material? What's your lead time for that material? Those are the types of things where you can start to sort of make plan B, C, and D in case something happens. Let's also go and think about your customers. What if 50% of your revenue comes from one customer? If that's the case and that customer goes away, or even if they pull back on projects by 50% because they're having budget constraints, what will you do? Do you maybe in that situation, nobody wants to do this, but maybe you don't need a certain employee anymore if that happened. Maybe you know that you could probably start selling more services to this other client that might maybe help diversify your income streams a little bit better. Or maybe there's a project you've been really wanting to work on and you haven't been working on it for some reason, and maybe that could be a good additional income stream. Let's think about what is going on in the business currently and, how we can kind of tweak the business model if one thing goes away or another thing goes away. So I want you to think about that now. And also, the plan, like worst case scenario, what does that look like? Best case scenario, what does that look like? And you can start to come up with sort of these plan B, C, and D. And then you can decide, hey, this is a great idea. I might go ahead and start implementing it now, and it will just help hedge against any kind of future sort of ups and downs. Okay, and lastly, I want to tell you guys that my number one tool for helping with uncertainty in the business is to work on cash flow forecasting. So cash flow forecasting is where you take the cash you have currently, your planned activity, and any other cash needs you have in your business, and you say, this is the money I think is coming in, this is the money I think is going out, and this is what my ending balance looks like. And you forecast out every single month. It's great to have one of those, and that's what we want for every small business, is to have a cash flow forecast so you can, look ahead and think like, where do I need to make decisions? But what's critical here is you can do a best case scenario, worst case scenario cash flow forecast version as well. So let's say 50% of your demand declines. How long do you have cash for? When will you need to make hiring changes, or not hiring changes, but when will you need to make staffing changes and let somebody go? Or when will you need to potentially, what would happen in a certain situation? Would you need to say like drop a lease for a location? What would the financial impact of that be? And you can start to just kind of think, hey, if that happened, I know what my plan would be. And I also know the timeline of when that would need to happen before it gets too late to where I'm like totally dug into a hole. I'm $100,000 in debt and I have no business. That is like not what we want for everybody. Okay. We want you to see things ahead of time, and a cash flow forecast will help you do that. So we've got resources for cash flow forecasting in the description box below. Overall, you guys, I just want you to remember that as a small business, your greatest strength is that you are flexible and nimble, and you don't have to go through the big, a big corporate structures in order to change something. So if you see a problem ahead of time, you have more time to flex and actually change it before it becomes a problem. So this is why we need to be forward looking right now. And we really need to be thinking about our businesses in order to affect change. So you've got this. You guys have been through one of the craziest times in business probably ever with the pandemic and things 100% shutting down completely. I think that everyone here who watches these videos is extremely resilient, and you guys can do it. Small business owners are incredible people, and I know that you guys will be able to rise to the challenge of a recession and you can get through it, okay? So please let me know how I can support in the comment section below. I am here for you, and let me know if you have any questions. All right, thanks so much. Bye.